Tonight I'm going to show you how to knit a herringbone stitch. You can see I've already done quite a bit of this project, and you can see the pattern that's forming. It's a really kind of a unique stitch and a pretty pattern that kind of makes a statement without, like the stitch itself makes a statement, so you don't even need a cool design to look neat. The other benefit to this stitch is that it's really thick. Here's the back. I'm not sure if you can tell, but because of the way that you stitch it, it just makes a really dense, thick stitch. And so I'm making a clutch here. A lot of times when I make clutches, I end up having to line them because if you crochet it, there's little holes in it, and so things would fall out, or you can just kind of see through it. That's not going to be a problem with this stitch, I don't think. I do not think I'm going to have to line it because you cannot see through it. Nothing's getting through that. It's really thick. The downside to that is that you use a lot of yarn. So I've already knitted one skein, and I just started my second, and this is all that you've got. So you go through a lot of yarn. The last thing I'll kind of say is that because of just the way this is stitched, you can upsize your needles quite a bit. I probably should have gone a little bit bigger. I'm using 15s. And as you can see, this yarn is thick. It's a 6, so it's really, really bulky. Bulky or super bulky, but it's really thick yarn, and I probably could have gone even bigger on my needles. So, but without further ado, here is how you knit the herringbone stitch. You just have to basically memorize the front and the back 2 rows, and then you just repeat them over and over. So you cast on like normal. I cast on 30 stitches here with the size 6 yarn and size 15 needles to get the size of clutch that I'm writing this pattern for. So I'm going to start on the front. The first stitch that you do is different than all the rest of the stitches on the front side. So basically you're going to do one stitch one way, and then all the rest of the stitches a different way. So the first stitch, what you're going to do is you're going to slip the first stitch as if you're knitwise. It's called knitwise. So basically you pretend like you're going to knit, but instead of knitting, you just slip it off. And you're going to slip the second stitch knitwise. So now you've slipped 2 stitches here. Then you take your left needle, put it back through the front. Wrap your yarn around your back needle and knit it that way. Okay, so here's where this is kind of the key part of the herringbone stitch. You basically just knit 2 stitches together through the back, but rather than pull both of those stitches that you just knit off the first needle, you only drop off the first one. So the second one here was knit with that first one, but you leave it on and proceed, and you're going to knit it again. So basically every stitch on here is going to get knit twice. You're always knitting 2 together. So the first time you knit a stitch, it'll be the first stitch or the second stitch that gets knit, and then you'll move on and it'll be the first stitch that gets knit and then dropped off. Okay, so to repeat the first stitch, you slip knitwise, slip knitwise, and then from here on out, the only difference is you're going to slip the first stitch like you're going to purl. So purlwise, then slip 1 stitch knitwise, and then do the exact same thing you did on the first stitch. Put your needle back through, knit it. This yarn's a little hard to work with, and then slip just 1 of those 2 loops off. And then you're set up to go slip purlwise. Remember, that's the stitch you've already knit once. This is going to be its second time to get knit. Then slip knitwise. Put your left needle through the front. Knit, drop 1 off. Slip purlwise, slip knitwise. Slip 1 off. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. A couple of things. I'll try. This isn't the easiest stitch to talk and do at the same time, or watch TV and do at the same time, so I'm going to give it a go here. A couple of things that I have kind of found with this project. One is that it's been really difficult for me to do this at a normal kind of tension. I find myself being very, very tight, and I think part of it is to do with my needles, again, are a little bit too small for this thick yarn in this stitch, and then also just the yarn's really thick, and it's a really dense stitch, so I've got just a lot of yarn going on in here. So I'm trying to kind of, like, when I finish a stitch, kind of tug to try to force myself to have a little bit looser tension than what I'm naturally kind of knitting here. That's not something that I struggle with just with kind of, you know, regular size yarn and a normal stitch. My tension is pretty consistent normally, but this project is proving to be a challenge, so just word to the wise. I have made with this stitch a really, really pretty scarf out of some really nice, I think it was alpaca yarn. It was so soft, and I loved it, but it curled up. So see how this bottom's kind of curling? It curled up real bad, and the inside isn't as pretty as the outside, so I ended up not really liking it quite as much as I thought I would, but the stitch itself is just so unique and pretty, and I'm excited to see how it will turn out for this little clutch here that I am going to make this into. Alright, so just trying to get to the end of this row so I can show you how to end the row, and then I will show you how to do the back side as well. So 30 total stitches. Like I said, you cast on 30 stitches, and so you basically knit 2 together 30 times. And then when we get to the end, you'll have one little stitch left over that I'll show you how to handle it. Like I said, this is a lot of my knitting is, here we go. A lot of my knitting that I do is very kind of mindless. I've done it a million times. I have been known to knit for sure in front of the TV. That's a regular occurrence. I don't really watch TV very often without making something. But I have knitted at plays in the dark. I have knit at concerts. I have knit at bars. So all that to say, most of my projects are such that I can do, like, for sure multitask. And this is just really, really not one of those projects. You really kind of have to stay pretty engaged. You definitely have to keep your eyes on it, so you can't watch TV while you're going, which is kind of a downside, because one of my favorite things to do is just sit in front of the TV or sit and talk to somebody while I work a project. And as you can tell by my ineptitude here and inability to be very engaging while I do this, this requires all my energy alone. It's also, because it's so thick, it's kind of really hard to work with, and my hands are getting kind of tired. Okay, so we're getting close to the end here. I've got 3 stitches left, so this next stitch is normal, slip purlwise, slip knitwise. Come on. Knit and slip one off. Okay, then one more of those. We have 2 stitches left, slip purlwise, slip knitwise, and knit, slip 1 stitch off. Okay, so now you're left with 1 stitch on your left needle, and so to finish that off, you're just going to knit through the back, just a regular little guy there. Okay, so did not break any land speed records there, but there is another front side row. And so now we're going to flip it over, and I'll show you how to do the back side, which when you flip it back over looks like this, going the other way. Okay, so this side is, I think, a little bit easier. It doesn't have the unique first stitch, and I think the last stitch is a little bit more intuitive. Okay, so it's a similar process here, except that you're just basically purling 2 together the whole way across. Again, you're not going to slip both stitches off, you're just going to slip the first stitch off. But other than that, it's a basic, just purl 2 together all the way across. So I'm going to start. You're going to get, you don't have to slip stitches off, you just grab the first 2 stitches. Yarn is hard to work with. Okay, first 2 stitches, purl them together. Come on, here we go. Okay, purl 2 together, and then drop that first stitch off, leaving the second one on. Okay, then you're going to grab the one you've already stitched and a new one and purl them together. Again, just drop one off. Show you a few more. Purl 2 together, drop one off. Okay, so that's what you do all the way across. I'm not going to sit here and make you watch that whole thing. When you get to the last stitch, as you did on the first row, you'll wind up with one last stitch on your left needle. On the back side, you just purl it. So you're purling 2 together, but only dropping one off the whole way across. Get to the last stitch, and just purl it, and then that's all there is to know. You just turn it back over. You're back on the front, and do the front side again, just over and over and over until you get the dimensions or the size or whatever it is you're going for. But we're making a clutch here. As I look at this, I think this would actually make a really pretty infinity kind of cowl type scarf. It's just really thick and dense and warm. So there are a lot of different things you can do with this stitch. It's so fun and pretty. Even like a laptop sleeve would be, it would probably really protect it because it's so fluffy. But in case you're curious, this yarn that I got, I picked it because it was on clearance at Hobby Lobby for $1.74. I bought 2, and that should be enough for one little purse. So for basically $3.50, I'm going to have a cute little clutch. So that's all there is to it. Let me know if you have any questions.